So you want to launch an iGaming startup. You're looking for a license that's solid, won't break the bank, and lets you operate globally. Your mind probably jumps to places like Malta, maybe the Isle of Man. But what if I told you one of the most experienced online gaming regulators in the entire world is based in a Mohawk territory just a stone's throw from Montreal, Canada?
In this explainer, we're diving deep into the Kahnawake gambling license. First, we'll look at its really unique location. Then we'll get into the business side of things. We're talking reputation, costs, and taxes. After that, we'll walk through the actual licensing process and the super important rules you've got to follow. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with our verdict on whether it's the right move for your business.
All right, let's jump right in. Section 1, an unexpected iGaming hub. We're about to find out how this Mohawk territory became such a major player in global gaming. So, where on earth is Kahnawake? Well, it's an autonomous First Nations reserve located in Quebec. Now, here's the crucial part. Its sovereign status means it has the right to make its own laws when it comes to big things like licensing and taxes. It operates independently from the Canadian government in this respect. And that autonomy, that's the very foundation of its iGaming jurisdiction. And they are definitely not new to this. The Kahnawake Gaming Commission, or KGC, was set up way back in 1996, and they put their first online gaming rules into place in 1999. Think about that. That makes them one of the oldest, most experienced regulators in the entire industry. Today, they're overseeing more than 250 gambling businesses. All that experience has built a rock-solid reputation. And don't just take my word for it. Casino Meister, which is a major industry watchdog, called the KGC a true standard bearer. Why? Because they're approachable, responsive, and effective. That's a huge endorsement, and it tells you everything you need to know about their credibility. Okay, so we know they're respected. Let's see how that translates into a solid business case. We're going to look at the three things every startup obsesses over: reputation, cost, and, of course, taxes. And let's start with the headliner, the number you've probably been waiting for. For any operator with a Kahnawake license, the corporate tax rate on all gross gaming revenue is 0. Yup, 0%. This is, without a doubt, the single biggest financial perk and a massive reason why this jurisdiction is so appealing to startups. So, what's the price of admission? The initial fee is a straightforward $40,000. But get this, that's not just an application fee. It covers the whole due diligence process, and, this is key, it includes your entire first year's license fee. When you stack that up against other reputable jurisdictions, it's a really efficient investment. Now, this slide really puts everything into context. On one side, you have Curaçao, super fast and the cheapest, but let's be honest, its reputation can be a mixed bag. On the other end of the spectrum is Malta, super prestigious and EU heavyweight, but it's slower and way more expensive. And right there in the middle, that's Kahnawake's sweet spot. A well-respected license, a reasonable time frame, and a manageable cost. It's the perfect middle ground for a serious startup.
Okay, so the business case makes sense. But what's it actually take to get your hands on one of these licenses? Let's demystify that whole application process. Getting a full license here is a very deliberate process. It all starts when you submit your application and they do a deep dive with due diligence. If you pass that, you don't immediately get the full license. Instead, they give you a 6-month preliminary permit. Think of it as a probationary period. They're watching you closely, reviewing your compliance programs in a live environment. Once that's up, they do a final review of everything, and only then do you get the full 5-year license. It really shows how serious they are about making sure operators are compliant from day one. Now, getting the license is one thing. Keeping it is a whole other ballgame. This brings us to the rules of play, understanding your absolute core compliance obligations. And let's be crystal clear here. Compliance isn't just about ticking boxes on a form. It is the absolute bedrock of this license's credibility. It's the reason players trust you, payment processors work with you, and partners want to do business with you. A huge piece of this puzzle is the mandatory Anti-Money Laundering and Counterterrorism Financing Program, or AML-CFT for short. This isn't optional. You are required to build a comprehensive, risk-based program. That means doing proper customer due diligence, keeping incredibly detailed records, and having a clear process for reporting any funny business to the authorities. Now, this is probably one of the most important things to understand. The KGC sets a very high bar. They give you the mandate. They'll say, you must have a robust AML program. But what they don't give you is the step-by-step playbook on how to build it. That's on you. You have to figure out the how.
For example, you have to design your own internal rules for when a player's activity triggers a deeper background check, or build the actual system that monitors transactions for weird patterns. The KGC provides the destination, but you have to draw the map to get there. But compliance isn't just about financial crime. The KGC is also huge on player protection. This means ensuring your games are fair, you pay out winnings quickly, and you guard player data like a fortress. You also have to provide responsible gaming tools, like letting players set limits or exclude themselves. And here's a really cool thing. The KGC actually has a full-time dispute resolution officer on staff just to handle player complaints. That's a big deal. So we've looked at the history, the business case, the process, and the rules. It's time to bring it all together for the final analysis. The Kahnawake verdict. Is this license the right fit for your venture?
Let's break it down and see.
On one hand, the Kahnawake license is pretty much tailor-made for startups and operators who care about costs but absolutely refuse to skimp on reputation. It's a fantastic choice if you want a respected, non-EU license to go after the global market. But there are a few key things to keep in mind. The USA is off-limits. It's a restricted market. As we just talked about, you have to be ready to build your own serious compliance programs from the ground up. And finally, while it's a great value, it's not the absolute rock-bottom cheapest option when you look at places like Curacao. And all of this really leaves us with one final big question that gets to the heart of what makes Kahnawake so interesting. In a world that is completely digital, where borders are almost meaningless, does a regulator's integrity and their proven track record matter more than their physical location on a map? Well, Kahnawake's long-standing success seems to suggest the answer is a pretty clear yes.